recording.
Okay.
We can go 6 o'clock.
Okay, I'll call this regular select board meeting on for March 15th, 2022 at 6 p.m. And the first thing on the agenda is change the additions to the agenda. And I'd like to have a ordinance violation on Jacksonville State Road and 10,070, the number is right down across the way over here. So any other changes? I don't hear any, so. All right, first thing, the next thing is approval of the minutes of March 1st.
I'll move to accept them as written.
Okay, the motion made, and I'll second them. To approve them as written. Any discussion? I don't hear any, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
so fast. All right. The next thing is I'd like to move these around a little bit, have the budget down a little later. And we got to open the truck bids here. Next. Because the budget might take quite a bit of time, yeah.
Sounds good.
This equipment. Heavy duty truck, heavy duty truck. Heavy duty truck.
Can you tell us just how many bids we got?
I'm looking them out, right now, sorting them out.
Thank you.
That's looks like we got 4 bids here, but 3 of them are from the same company. Allegheny, ATG Patriot in Westminster, Vermont. And the other one is from Allegheny,
Allegiance.
Allegiance
Yep.
Trucking out of Jericho, Vermont.
Looks like we got one on the truck mounted equipment
And got one on the, what's the name of that
from
one?
Viking.
Yeah, I know that.
Size. Yeah, Viking size of Vermont.
Okay. All right, well, we'll open up the trucks first.
Okay. Yours?
Do you have the bids, the prices that you did a month ago? Prices that we can compare them to after you open up these?
I think
They're still in the office, yeah.
downtown garage,
Office.
yeah, I'm down in town garage, because Mike took them all.
I think they ended up in the minutes. We could always look there.
Yeah, but they wanted to look at,
Actually look at them.
yeah, right. Okay, I'll start in with ATG out of Westminster, Vermont. This is one 2023 Western Star 49X cab and chassis. This must be ordered, need to be ordered. It's $152,446. Extended warranty package is $11,694. Total chassis with warranty included is $164,140. Now allowing $25,000 for the 210 international of $7,000. For a difference of $139,140. That's the one that's gonna be ordered. All right, there's another one, ATG. That's 2023 Freightliner, 114 SD cab and chassis. And this would have to be ordered too. It's a 2023 Freightliner is $136,457. Extended warranty $12,694. Chassis, total chassis and price is with the warranty is $149,151. And allowing $25,000 to the 210 international 7,000 for $124,151. Now the third one from ATG. This one's in stock. Has Viking equipment installed on it, which would be quoted to you by Viking separately. The 2022 Freightliner, this is this year's model. It's $123,417. Extended warranty is $12,694. For a total price and the warranty is $136,111. Total allowance for 2010 international trade-in is $25,000 for a total $111,111. That one was in stock. The first two I read was, it's got to be ordered.
Right. It sounds like that one that's in stock has the Viking equipment on it already.
Yeah, but it said it's a price.
Right, but quoted here.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm looking, this is Allegiance Trucks International. HB 613 SBA. We'll go through all the specifics, but the net is $144,732. And then there's all of these specs.
That was the warranty.
I think the warranty's at the back of this. Yeah, this is a warranty here. I think right here. This is basic vehicle, 12 months, towing 24, towing 3 months, chassis coverage 60 months, cab call 60 months, cab call perforation corrosion 60 months. International A26, 24 months, A26 major component, 60 months. That's fire truck and ambulance. Rear axle 12, front axle 12. Rear axle and diff 12.
They don't have a line for an extended warranty, 7 year.
I'm trying to see if that's included here. I haven't seen that yet.
Should be right there, shouldn't it?
Two-way radio horn. Star service call. 60-month unlimited warranty.
Maybe Mike can find it a little quicker than we can, huh?
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I'm not seeing it right. I'm not seeing
Well, come on, take a look at it, Mike.
7 years. Yeah. Yeah, so it looks like back here, right, is the warranty info. Past it. I think it's right. This is limited warranty stuff right here.
Should have been an extended 7 year.
That'd be 84 months, right? So.
There's nothing, no, 24, 16, 16.
Yeah,
I
that's,
don't know if I could add to that.
I mean, I think we need to review this stuff and make sure it meets spec
Wow.
and everything, right? So.
Yeah, I'll let Mike and Keith go over it.
I don't see it anymore. I wrote right up for it.
I don't see it either. And then, so, and here's this is the Viking sides, is that how you say it?
I think so, yeah.
For the truck mounted equipment. And it's 86,450.
Well, it's gonna look like, depends on whether we got to order it or but you get the one that's in stock.
I mean, the one that's in stock has the Viking equipment on it,
Yeah,
right?
but that's a price right there. He said
Right,
quoted another one
right. You said it was
separately.
quoted separately, so that's that 86,450, right? So so I mean, this shows all this stuff, right? Which, I guess we assume meets spec, but you guys can check. So is this stuff quoted installed? Is that how they normally do it?
Yeah,
So I would, I would say if that stock truck with this Viking equipment on it meets spec, so that and it seems like the number was good, so maybe that will work.
yeah, the one in stock is
Give me a
about
minute, then I'll
13,000 less.
Right, that's a white, right, instead of a Western Star, right,
Freightliner.
Freightliner.
right, Freightliner, right.
Only thing you gotta consider is we got Western Stars already at the shop.
Yeah.
So if you get another different brand truck, filter, you're gonna have to have all, you know what I mean? If you
Mhm.
go with the same style truck, you can reuse the same filters. on
Yeah,
multiple
Right, so
regions.
the parts commonality is definitely a benefit.
This one here is, this other one's Western Star. They got to order it. So probably should stay with same brand we've been getting.
So what I would suggest, but I'm just
Yeah.
a voice here.
Yeah,
Well, it's 13, there's what you say, it's $13,000 more, and then
that's,
we're gonna wait, right?
that's, wow, they have to order it.
So I suspect that's a
Well-
long wait.
Well, it's one that, it's, about 15,000
So
with
that's a
a, with
benefit,
a Western Star
right?
or with a
So what
Freightliner.
we have the benefit of the commonality of parts and, you know, some maintenance pluses there, right? Because we have the same truck. So that's definitely a consideration of my mind.
Yeah,
Right.
it should be, instead of having a
And then that's.
parts for a dozen different trucks.
Right, and then the question is, I mean, how long do we have to wait for that truck, and is that acceptable, can we do that? No. But I would, you know, I think it,
I would imagine if, not to be frank here, but if you pull the trigger here soon, that you would probably have potential before winter. That's
can I
just an
taste it?
assumption. I have no proof of anything.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, that's something we should probably,
I mean,
You
a
should-
phone call, you could find that out.
Yeah.
yeah, so can you, just review these and make sure they meet the spec that we've, you know, that we had, right, and then you know, come back to us with what you think in
Do you
terms
want
of,
me to call agents too and ask about the extended warranty? Or no, or,
well, I mean,
it didn't look like it was, I mean, I can look at it a little better tomorrow.
I didn't see it, but you know, if you can go through it, I mean, it's, in order for it to be
a lot
apples
of
to
pages
apples,
there too.
right?
Cause I think that's gonna add a pretty $10,000-12,000 bill to.
Well, that might be the difference, right? So,
Well, the others are 11,000-12,000.
That's what I'm saying.
so it would be, so we need to know if they all meet spec. If, you know, if the, you know, what the benefit of the commonality of parts is, right, you know, just need to, you know, that, you know, that there's something there and
I
that.
can find some of that stuff out
Right,
tomorrow.
and then what the difference in the warranty cost will be, right, because the warranty cost may just wash it out. You know.
I'll put them all right in the same envelope.
So you want me to do is find out when everything needs back and call about warranty and check compliant. Try to make a decision at the next meeting.
Yeah, I would think so, right? You agree with that, Louis?
Yeah,
Yeah, you know, get that one over there with them. too.
I just want to thank you, Louis and Pete, for kind of wrapping your heads around what you were looking at. And for Mike looking at that stuff. So thanks.
You're welcome.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll let the experts, they know more about the trucks than I do, but have Mike and Keith look it over, and I think it's similar to the one they had before. Prices and stuff, I think. Remember right?
Don't like some of them went up.
Well, because some of them they probably had in stock last time and they don't now. 'Cause I remember last time I had a couple in stock. All right, so you can take these long when you go, Mike.
In terms of a roll call here, that symbol up there, who is that? Do we know who that is?
It says Janice.
Chris
Dennis?
Perkins?
Oh, it's Chris. Okay. All right. Thanks.
I thought I remembered it.
Yeah.
See it before. All right. Moving on. Beaver mitigation project update.
So I put that on there. I asked to have that on there. What we're finding is that the materials are just very difficult to get. We need a 12-inch flex. We need 80 or 100 feet of that. And I guess you did find it, Mike, but
Found the flex stuff, he said he didn't know if he'd be able to get by the end of the year. The solid stuff, he said he probably could have it by the end of June. But it weren't flex, it was just solid, which would probably work, but it's just gonna be more pain. And it was like 12 something a foot,
right. So
1239, 1269, somewhere in there. A foot,
I really think we need to use the flex in order to use the,
it'd be easier.
yeah, a lot easier. So anyway, that's all I want to talk about is that we're struggling and trying to line the materials up. We'll continue to pursue that,
There's nothing new.
right? Well, yeah, in this environment, it's really,
I know.
it's unbelievable. There's nothing in stock, so. And what is there is so expensive.
Yeah, I know.
We really haven't budgeted for it. If we can find it, then we'll come back and see if it's something we want to do or not.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Good. Okay, the next thing is Paul Blaze, Vermont Emergency Management. And we got Patty called or sent an email to me, probably did the others. Got a grant.
Mhm.
And
It was the grant that I had submitted back in 2019, and it was the 2020 BRIC grant, they call it. Well, it just got awarded. And so we're going through the process. Patty had to go through a thing online, and the next step is that I signed the paperwork and sent that back to them. Then they are gonna put that into their system and send us back, the kind of the checklist we need to do put it out to bid. It's got to get out to bid. And then we can, and that's to do the whole plan. And then once we get all the bids back and we decide on which bid I want to take, hopefully, I'm knocking on wood, hopefully we'll be able to get it through Wyndham Regional Commission, because Wyndham Regional Commission did our last plan. And when I was talking to Alyssa Sabato about the whole process, she's actually the one that wrote it. And she's like, updating it is going to be a breeze, because it was, I guess there was quote unquote old versions and new versions, and Halifax is in the new version. So there's not going to be a whole lot to change in it, which would be really great. It's a 75-25 grant. So it's like, I think it's 10,000 and change. So our portion is going to be like $2,300 or something like that. And then the awarded amount, the match amount is $7,612.50. So we're waiting to hear back from the state on that, so we can go through with the get the bids out. And then once we select the vendor that's going to be updating the plan, then they work, and they are the ones that will got to do there's a public period for comments.
mhm,
Then there's the plan gets generated, the plan gets updated, it's got to get sent out to all the abutting communities and all that kind of stuff. So there's that whole process, but they're kind of the guidance through that whole process.
Yeah.
So
so is that gonna be up by the 1st of May or something?
the
plan?
for the grant,
No, plan,
no, that's for the local hazard mitigation plan.
okay,
That's different. This is more like what they used to call the all hazards plan.
oh, yeah,
The whole town-wide deal. So that's different. The the local emergency management plan, the LEMP. This is what we kind of have currently. And, sorry about that.
Thank you. You want to read if you'd like to?
And so, oh, I think I gave somebody the one that I wrote on. That's probably, here, can I trade with you?
Yeah.
Pretty sure that that's where it's got all my chicken scratch on it.
Yep.
I would have been lost trying to find that later.
Oh, yeah,
So the local emergency management plan, right, it lists all of the, I updated section 1, which is who the planners are. I added this, all the select board members to it. Now, before Brad was on here, but I don't know if Brad was on here because of the town, I mean, the select board portion, or if Brad was on here because of the road portion. I was thinking it was because of select board.
It
But-
seems to my memory, Paul, that it would have been highway, that, there's actually a lot of, as we're trying to deal with emergencies in the town, the highway department really does a lot of that. But Louis, what do you recall?
yeah, I think he was on for the highway too, I think,
Okay,
Well,
for sure.
So the LEMP is more of, right, the LEMP is more of identifying who all the contacts are, if we activate the EOC, who's in there, and designating all of the resources that are available to the town and all that stuff. I'm not sure. I think that the highway guys would be more involved in the all hazard, in the other plan that we're gonna be having the vendor assist us with. But doesn't matter, we can add as many people as we want.
yeah, so remind me again, the LEMP is sort of like, is that the all hazards plan or no?
No, that's the, this is just, that's the terminologies, I'm sorry. Local hazard mitigation plan.
Okay, the
I think
hazard
is-
mitigation versus, okay. Yeah, I still sort of feel like, I mean, during Tropical Storm Irene, we definitely had the folks from the road crew in there all the time, trying to figure out what roads we could get open, what equipment they had to put on the jobs and stuff like that. So,
And they,
Okay, so that's a different piece to the puzzle. Those are resources and assets. That's when the emergency is happening. And when you've activated your emergency operations center, that's different than coming up with the data that's in the plan. So when you have an emergency and you've activated your EOC, and then you need to find out about whatever, what roads are down or what our community challenges are. That's when you pull in all these different resources, and they're communicating up through the chain of command, the ICS structure, to provide the information to the EOC, to all the folks that are in the Emergency Operations Center. The development of the plan itself is, pretty much identifying who the staff members are, the EOC positions and duties, the locations, where we've got our contracts with and all that stuff. I just want to, you guys, I just want to make sure that you understand the different, how it all ties together.
Okay, yeah, I appreciate that. There is on this first page here, I think, you have for the alternate EOC, you have equipment notes. You probably should check with Mike on the Wi-Fi key and password and stuff. I think that
Well,
stuff's changed.
And I actually wanted to bring up the EOC locations.
Okay,
That was one of the things that my talking points was, right now, the primary EOC is the Halifax Firehouse, and the alternate is the town garage. But the purpose of the EOC is bringing a bunch of people together to be able to, you know, figure out what's going on and be able to develop a plan to take action on it hopefully based on your mitigation plans you've already developed. And the firehouse, as we're moving into, you know, moving down the road, the firehouse, last I knew, didn't have grand internet. I don't know if that's changed at all. You guys,
Yeah, that's good.
They have internet, but I don't know.
Because
How fast and how great it is.
because I know when we were doing the Vermont Yankee radiological emergencies drills, those quarterly FEMA drills, it was challenging to work with that. So, and the alternate location of the town garage is challenging, I think is challenging, because if this is a point where we're supposed to be able to, you know, take action with, there's a tiny little office. There's no place for people to set up and, you know, have workspaces. We could, you know, bring tables from the firehouse or from the school and set it up, but that's another step in the process.
And another thing you gotta think of too is that town garage, if you're really having like an Irene or something, you're gonna have equipment in and out.
Right. So I would like to propose that if you want to keep the primary EOC at Halifax Fire Station, I would recommend actually having the primary EOC location be the town office and having the alternate EOC location be the Halifax Fire Company. I think that's the, because we've got lines of communication between here, right? Because when you're having your emergency, you're going to have your, you know, your representatives from your, you know, from your emergency services. You're going to have, you know, all those things that are in our hazard plan to take action on it.
Would you have a third?
We absolutely could. I think the
The
town
only
garage,
reason why I'm saying this is we still have a issue with leftover radiation being kept in Cass and Row and Yankee.
Mhm.
So if you had an issue with that, would you want to be closer to the firehouse than you would any other place?
it wouldn't really matter. I mean,
Communication back and forth.
yeah, it shouldn't matter because, I mean, if there were a true emergency happening, right, there's a whole RACES network, which is the radio civilian, amateur civilian
And you did
emergency
that.
services. And you can set that up pretty much literally anywhere. And that would be communication right up to the state EOC and up in Waterbury, wherever they happen to stand it up. So we could have that, and those radios can also monitor fire services and all that stuff. So. But
So you'd like to change the locations a little bit?
yeah, I would. I'd like to at least have. I'd at least like to have the town office be one of them on the list. And I mean, there's a certain convenience to having it at the firehouse. You know, it also doesn't mean if we have a location that we're keeping as a tertiary location, it doesn't mean that we can't just activate an EOC there. You know, if there happens to be a flooding event and, you know, Irene on steroids and this location is, you know, compromised or potentially could get compromised. So, but I would like to see the town office and the firehouse be listed as the.
In my personal experience from Irene, town garage, you have the bridge from 112 to get to it, and the water for Irene was at the bridge.
Yeah.
And on this other side of the driveway down on this side, there was water over the road.
Right.
So, and at the firehouse, it was just starting to run into the bays. So I would, my suggestion would be your better place for your first place is the town office. I mean, that's just me, but.
You're making a good case to me. I'm seeing the town office being preferable based on what you said.
So does anybody remember why, when I suggested this, it was controversial? Was there access concerns about the town office being connected with the school building? I think it's a good idea. I'd proposed that we don't have the primary be at the at the fire department years ago. I just can't remember what the concerns were about making a switch. I'm happy to try to research that again. If
Well, there
that-
shouldn't be an issue with the school, because that's technically a separate. The town office area is segregated by locked doors from the school, so. That shouldn't be, and if we've activated an EOC, there's probably not gonna be school.
Yeah, the EOC was in place for quite a while. I don't remember how long the school was shut down for, Irene.
Authorized, yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Has it?
Well, it's still, the school, the question was, is the school still the shelter location? And it is. Haven't had to use it with Irene and the challenges with that, but, that was another piece to my thinking is that, if we did have an event that required, activating the Emergency Operations Center, the EOC, and we also had to have some sort of shelter open, you end up running thin with shelter operation managers and the staff to keep shelters up and running and the staff for the EOC, because there's not a whole lot of folks that
All
are.
same people.
Yeah, exactly. So, that having it closer could be an asset to us.
Well, I
What
don't know if it's Go ahead.
Sorry, what kind of internet speed is there at the town office now?
Right now, it's a 10 meg, but we're getting the school is going to be David could explain it better than me, but the school is going to be a site for DV fiber, and as where that's going to kind of funnel through. So as part of that, the town office is getting the DV fiber connection. So
Okay.
I'm not
That
exactly sure what that speed's going to be, but it's going to be a heck of a lot better than what we have now.
Okay, that might have been one of the considerations before. Sorry to interrupt, Tina.
Oh, no, that's okay.
And the school does have a very robust connection. I want to say it's like 150 meg or something like that. And, there's the guest wireless for that, so.
Okay, I was just gonna point out, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. But it would be handier to have it primarily here, because this is the place where all the townspeople call for any kind of emergency or with any questions about anything. This is the first call that people make. So I don't know if that's a good thing where it would be easier to get information to the public, or it would be too much happening all at once. But I know Patty does a lot of fielding and a lot of question answering about everything that goes on in town, because this is where people call.
Yeah, we would need to make sure we were able to have some sort of other dedicated phone line maybe, or something like that.
So.
I'm just seeing a lot of reasons to do this. Is this something you need a motion on, or just to ask you to proceed, including the plan?
Well, this is all, it's
all.
all part of the plan. So you guys say, yeah, that's what you want, and that becomes part of the plan, and I'll update that. I do have another piece to it that I have a question on, and that's the shelter location. And right now, the primary local shelter is the Halifax Elementary School. But there's different kinds of shelters, right? There's a warming shelter, there's, a overnight shelters, there's all kinds of, and there's different requirements for each one of these different types of shelters. And, I'd like to entertain with the board's approval, asking the community club to be able to list that as an option. Because I know Patty has had people in here when we had that last power outage for 12 hours or so, Patty had somebody come in here as a warming shelter.
Laura did.
And
Laura and then,
was she?
Yeah.
And so, you know, there kind of is a need for that. So, and you know, if it's just a power situation, well, the school can run because the school's got the generator. So school would be in session. So it wouldn't work well to have people in the multipurpose room of the school. But if we had an alternate location of wherever, maybe for warming and cooling, because it could be cooling too if we've got a huge heat wave happening. You know, of course, that wouldn't be any of our buildings, 'cause
No.
none of them are air conditioned.
No.
But probably the
Just don't
firehouse. that'd be
understand
the coolest.
myself.
But you know, we could list the town office as a warming shelter, but that would get overwhelmed rather quickly. Because Vermonters are Vermonters, they don't tend to want to go with help. They want to stick things out themselves.
Does the community hall?
Well, again,
have-
this makes sense to me.
no,
No, they
You
don't.
know, it doesn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's not always a town-wide situation, right? We've had the ice storms back in what, 2006, 2007?
hey,
It was 2008. It was an elevation thing, right? Because above 1,500 feet was devastated. So I don't know. It was just something that I'm thinking about. As far as the communication piece goes, we do have some more tools in our toolbox now. And with a call to Vermont Emergency Management, we can do reverse 911 to, you know, to everybody in a certain area or in the town. So there is that mechanism to provide a quick communication. But for people that either haven't registered a mobile phone for that service, or they don't have a landline, you know, they don't have a home phone, or they've got power, they don't have any power and it's
yeah,
they physically, it's not working, then that's, you know, but you might be catching some of the folks.
Well,
Paul,
okay, so-
coming back to what, something between what Edie and Tina said, would there be money in the funds that you're looking at to run a second telephone line in, so that in the event of an emergency, there's a dedicated line for the town clerk, and then something that in an emergency could be used for outgoing and incoming calls?
We already have that. Actually, we have 3, right? Oh, no, the fax line is the same number. Yeah, so then we do also have the listers line. So
Huh.
that's a different number that, you know, can be commandeered.
Oh, gotcha. Thanks.
But we could certainly add, if we wanted to add a separate one, we could certainly do that. I mean, that could be paid out of whatever funds. That could be, if it's purposes for emergency management, then you could just do that out of the EMD allocation in the town budget.
When, if you get into one of these situations, what are the odds the phones are working?
Pretty good in the land. I mean, if they have a landline,
I just thought there was a lot of them out.
I know.
All depends on the nature of the emergency, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
You know, and one of the things that I'm gonna be working on is in one of our EMD trainings that we had was information push to the community on different resources that are available and how to better, you know, it's kind of like a preparedness thing, right? What is 211? What does it mean? How do you register for the 911, reverse 911s, and, you know, VT alert or alert now, or whatever they're calling it now. You know, those are all awesome tools. And most people have cell phones now, not everybody, but most people have cell phones,
It
and
works.
you know, they're get alerts. For example, those thunderstorms that ripped through the other night, I had no idea we were supposed to get those severe thunderstorms at like 9 o'clock at night. And I got my VT alerts started popping off, and I'm like, what? Check the Weather Channel, sure enough. It's like, wow.
Yeah, they pop up anytime.
All right, so to sort of parse through this, I mean, I'm good with making the town office the primary
Okay.
EOC. I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, but I mean, I think that was the first question.
Yep.
All right, so, what's the rest of the board think about doing that? Are we good with it?
Yeah, Good.
Why don't Paul work on it? Come back with, whatever problems it is, and
So,
if you,
It's pretty much, you guys say it is and it is.
okay.
Or we all agree that it is. I mean, it's a plan that we're all EMD and select board come develop, so.
so I guess where I'm going is if you, we could propose to do these things, right? You can modify the plan,
Mhm.
right? And then we could review it. Is that a reasonable thing to do? Or do we just,
We can change it at any time as
Yeah.
well.
okay. So
Yeah.
anyway, so the first thing was making this the primary location.
Yep.
Right, and I think the other one was asking to use the community center.
What do we want the alternate location to be? Do we want it to be the Halifax Fire Company? Or do we want it to be the garage? I would think that we would want the fire company to be. the
I think you would too,
I do too. Right. I mean,
because
but-
you got no radios down there for the fire. And you get a lot of information.
Okay. And so then the other question was, like you said, do we want to consider discussing with the community club about an alternate, using their building as an alternate shelter location?
Right.
Because what that has, I don't think it meets the qualifications. It needs to be a commercial kitchen in order for food prep to actually happen
Yeah, right.
there. I'm pretty sure that doesn't meet the bill for that. I'm not even sure that the school kitchen meets the bill for that, but they'd be more likely to be able to have it classified as a commercial kitchen in the school.
So if you don't have a commercial kitchen, you don't have a shelter.
No,
Is that
if you don't have a
right?
commercial kitchen, you can't say that you can't make food. Because food has to be, you can't even with a American Red Cross sanctioned shelter, you can't even take, if Bobby Sue brings in a crock pot full of baked beans that she just whipped up, it doesn't matter, you can't use it because it's not, you can feed the workers, you can't feed the people that are in your shelter because it's not made in a commercial kitchen. All kinds of weird things,
Okay, well,
weird things like that.
I
Yeah.
mean, so I guess where I'm going is, it's a
But it's-
lot better to have a shelter, right? Without the commercial kitchen than not to have a shelter.
Exactly.
Right, so,
Yeah, well, yeah, it's all what you do in it, but I mean, that would be a warming shelter. That could even be set up for, overnight shelter, because there's bathrooms and all that stuff there, just like the school.
As long as they got electricity.
I think we should ask him. That makes sense to me.
Okay, I'll check that out.
All right.
Thanks, Paul.
And
Can I ask a question? I don't know if you had more on that. I have a
ahead.
related question for you, Paul.
Interesting.
Hi, the job description, your job description, Paul, is one of the ones that is fairly lengthy and is at least a few years old. So it was on our list to, gonna be on my list to ask Rosa to work with you on and checking if it's updated and having us review it. And so I just wanted to ask if you could fit that in somewhere.
sure. Do you want to do that collaboratively, or do you want me to look at it and tell you my thoughts?
I would say I would just ask Rosa to either find the document that, we have it posted it's in the binder there, it's on the website. Just ask Rosa to find the document or digitize that one and maybe just send it to you for review. And maybe let's just start there, see if you have any updates you see that would be worth making. I'd personally work with you on it if you want to bounce it back and forth, and then we can bring it to the board for any discussion. And I would just say if this is one of the job descriptions. The other one was Rose's position that was quite lengthy, and we want to look for opportunities to tighten these things up so they aren't so difficult to wrap your head around. Difficult enough to do the job.
All right.
Cool.
Okay.
I can do that.
Does the chair want to recognize Chris Parkins has his hand up?
Yeah, I didn't know who it was. See a hand up there, but I didn't know who it was.
Yep, yeah, I can help from my end on that one. Janice or Chris
Okay.
has got their hand
Okay,
up.
Chris. Go ahead, Chris.
Great. Rosa, do you?
All right, it's actually Janice. I'm helping her. There we go. Go ahead.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much. And excuse my, if I, my ignorance possibly, but is there the possibility of having trainings perhaps for residents who are interested in trying to work together for emergency response in different ways? And then the other question I had was, is there a committee already or a group of us working together in communication and what we could do to support one another in our different neighborhoods and so on? And that's it. Thank you very much. My phone, sorry.
So for the first part about volunteering is once there's an emergency operations center is activated, and if we need to have shelters, for example, that's all governed by the American Red Cross. So if you wanted to volunteer for that and get training for that, you can reach out to the American Red Cross and they have a volunteer section. I can get more information on that and maybe pass it off to Rosa. But as far as trying to do something on our own, that's a huge liability. And that's where emergency services come into play. They have got the special training. That could be a huge liability to the town, having a bunch of residents that are volunteering. Because the trainings for whether it's first responder or whether you're dealing with like Irene, where there's swift water issues involved, and that's a tangled web.
Well, can I just ask, maybe, Paul, I appreciate the response, and I think it's an interesting question. I just want to maybe clarify, because whether I understood the question properly. I mean, maybe that's just what you meant, is how to get, or are you just asking how to get involved as a citizen? Because we don't always put out the doormat for people. It's a small town, but if there's anyone who wants to get involved in emergency services in the various, such as the fire company, but we don't have right now, my understanding, and sort of local EMT service in town. And I just prick my ears up anytime someone sounds like they want to do anything like that as far as getting more involved. And I just want to encourage that.
So in our LEMP here, we have 3 EOC volunteers under the preferred EOC positions and duties section, right, for staff's phones and radios, tracks and answers requests, and tracks and coordinates. Are those the kind of things that the Red Cross deals with too, or is that outside of the Red Cross responsibilities?
The Emergency Operations Center is staffed by our community. So when it comes to that is our officials within town that start staffing that and those folks.
So was that something that Janice could do then if we were to, if we needed to open up an EOC?
Absolutely. And so one of the things that's going to be coming out in like the all hazards plan is when we're going to start talking about, you have a EOC. When you're activating an EOC, that's not usually, you don't do it for an hour. You do it for days usually, and it's got to be staffed. So not only do you have people there during the day, but you have people there at night. And so developing a roster of people that are willing to help and all that stuff, that's going to come out in the hazard mitigation plan. Is my understanding of that whole process.
Okay, so the hazard mitigation plan is part of this, the local emergency management plan. Is it a subset of it, or is
Yeah, this is basically saying how we activate our emergency operations center.
Okay.
Where it's located, who can activate it, who's what do we have if we need to call in for fuel oil, if we need to call in for electric, who do we call for those kind of things? That's the kind of stuff that's in that.
Okay.
And then the the hazard mitigation plan is what actually details, these are all the potential hazards. These are where they're more likely to occur, whether it's flooding or
Okay,
whatever.
okay, so I'll just refer to these three lines right
Mhm.
here on the front page of the LEMP, right, where, you know, we have an EOC volunteer staff's
Yep.
phones and radio, so, you know, those three lines, right?
Yep.
So, if Janice was interested in doing something like that, how does she?
That's all gonna come out when we do the mitigation plan.
Okay, so Janice, to answer your question, I think that once we come out with the hazard mitigation plan, you know, keep your ears open for that one, right? And we can include you, you know, with some of the stuff here on the
Right.
local emergency management plan. Happy to do that. Thank you.
And I believe we're
Yeah.
also gonna, for people that have their ears open for this, I have met with a group of folks about animals in the shelters and having the, you know, getting them involved in
Okay.
that. And
Right.
so there's a whole, you know, Vermont animal rescue, you know, piece that's also happening in the wings.
Few more facets to it.
Yeah, and I just would like to add really quick that in addition to, and thank you very much, because that was exactly what I was looking to have the information for. And additionally, from a social perspective, I feel like as a community, if we knew who are our elders, who are our most vulnerable people, who are the people who just gave birth, and in our community somehow, if there was like a group of us that were able to be voluntarily willing to sort of just looking out for one another, I guess, as you would say, that are willing to help keep that information like moving forward when we're about to face anything, or the ones that are willing to keep that information like updated, because it changes from season to season. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, and there is a.
To that point, that
A component to the hazard mitigation plan is your vulnerable populations.
Okay.
So it's listing the, you know, those folks that aren't mobile, you know, that would need help, that would need checking on. And it would list things like daycares and, you know, local businesses and all that kind of stuff that would.
Yeah, so Janice's point about trying to be proactive about that will
Yep.
also be in the mitigation
It should
plan.
be, yeah.
Okay, all right, great.
So I think that last point Janice's makes me think of something, Kara, you asked about at the last meeting, I think, just sort of checking about town communication and use of things like Facebook. It just made me think, and this has been on my mind because, you know, we have a town website. Some people get a lot of info through there. Then we have Front Porch Forum and, you know, several different channels. There's the email list for minutes and agendas, several different channels, but I don't have a clarity if people, you know, what people prefer to use one or another, if they're getting what they want. And I was just thinking last week, what if we did a brief survey of residents, and I'd be volunteer to draft one and, you know, work on it with someone, but I think just a brief structured survey of what kind of communication channels town residents actually use or prefer to use. And if anyone's not already signed up for something, to let them know, you know, maybe where to do that. Would that sound like a good idea to anyone?
Well, that's actually, when I mentioned that I was going to be I was going to be sending out information about like 211 and emergency planning and all that stuff. That's all going to be in it. And I was planning on using the EMD funds to send out that to Patty said that she can get me a list of, you know, all the residents. So I was planning on doing that and sending that all to all the residents. And it was going to include, you know, do you have pets? How many pets do you have that you would, you know, if you needed to shelter, how many pets do you have? What kind of pets are they? Are there issues with, you know, are they dogs and cats, or are they, you know, horses? You know, what kind of animals would need to be considered in an emergency? And also to be able to capture the vulnerable population in that whole piece, you know, so it'll be able to identify all these pieces of parts. And also allow people to register, or give them the information to register for the the Vermont Alert Now and the reverse 911 through your cell phones and all that kind of stuff. So that
Okay. Thanks,
That
Paul. I
sounds
think,
like a great idea. Oh, I'm
what I'm
sorry,
th-
Tristan.
Oh, go ahead, Kara. Oh, let's say real quick. I think that encompasses maybe a good part of what I'm envisioning, but I think we're also just looking at townwide communications a little bit more broadly than that. So I'd love to just coordinate with you on just the details of that, and maybe I'll draft something of what I'm thinking about, and if there's anyone who wants to look at it, I can share it.
Okay, sure. When I'm ready
But,
to do
Kara?
that, I'll reach out to you.
No, thanks, and
Thank you.
sorry, I spoke over you guys. I was just thinking that whenever you collect all that information, Paul, you may need like a team of volunteers to help you kind of collate that. You don't want to have to go through hopefully you get back 700 responses, right? You're not gonna want to do that, and so happy to, help once you get that, if those were divvied up and there was some mechanism to input the info so you could actually make use of it.
Okay. Honestly, if I get 100 back, I'd be surprised. I mean, that's just
Hope
the way
springs
that it
eternal.
rolls. I mean, if, like when we're sending information out to the school and we're actually asking for surveys, or even the supervisory union, and we're talking about all the kids in the district, the amount of data you get back, the amount of return replies is pretty
small.
yeah, unfortunately.
Yep.
But all you can do is try.
All right.
So yeah, so the LEMP has to be back to them by, or quote unquote approved by May 1st. So usually it's on the beginning of April meeting. So we're a couple weeks ahead. So I'll get this stuff squared away, and maybe I can be on the agenda for the first Tuesday in April. We can knock that off. Would
Okay.
that be okay?
Yeah. All right.
Does anybody else have any other questions for me?
Anybody got any questions for Paul?
Nope, just thank you.
Thanks, Paul.
Cool, thanks.
Okay. Local hazardous waste, we got that all done anyway, so. Okay, and the other thing here, we got an ordinance violation here from 10,070 Jacksonville State Road, North Halifax. And we put a violation on and back in May of 2020. And they had to have it cleaned up by July 1st, 2020, which they never did. But it was in the thing that we gave to the Winchecks when they owned the property at the time. Every day after it wasn't done, it was $50 a day. So Patty and Peter and I, we met, and it was 549 days. $50 a day was 27,450. Well, the company wants to appeal that. So
it sounds to me like they have the place sold, right?
well, it sounds like it.
But what's hanging out there is this fine, right? Because this is a lien and it needs to be cleared up before they can sell the place, is what
That's right.
is I think where we're at.
Yeah.
And it's not a small thing.
No, it
Not
isn't.
at all. And I guess the question is, what do we want to do about this? I mean, have.
Well, what did they?
Go ahead.
Was
Tristan.
there a specific
Tristan.
offer made, or did they a specific request made, or appeal?
No, they just sent it. They just thought it was pretty high. $27,450.
Right, so they appeal the fine essentially. What goes through my mind is what's in the best interest of the town, right? Having the property sit there vacant, and having it degrade over time is not in the best interest of the town. So having it get sold to somebody that, would upgrade it and, improve it, live in it and, you know, not make a mess out of it would be, would be in the interest of the town. So I think there's some incentive for us to try to make this happen, but I'm not sure how to go forward to do that. I don't know what the right answer is.
We
But
look
they
at
let that
the
fine
the
accrue
incentive of,
of complying with an ordinance. This was almost 2 years that they just let this fine accrue
Yep,
without doing anything to clean up the site.
right.
Hmm.
The present owners didn't, and then they foreclosed on the present owners. The bank did.
I think it's the best
And then the
interest of the
bank-
town is,
The bank,
um,
they got the violation from Patty. Because she asked me, she said, "There's a violation on it. Is there a violation?" I said, "There was." So I looked it up and we found it. And so she sent it to the bank and they said, or they told, sent an email to the bank and they said, "Well, put the violation on the house," which Patty went over and put it on the door, the front door and the side door of the house. And then after that, they started cleaning it up, which they done I thought, a real good job.
Yeah, I started that in January and it took them a while, but
About 3 weeks and they had it all finished.
do the dates, the 500 or so days, does that include, where does that go to now or to when they started cleaning up?
No, I went to went to the end of December of 2021.
because in January they
I
started.
think it's a
cleaning
good
it up.
point, Pete. The best interest of the town, having a property being changed hands in an orderly way and someone take care of it is, that's what we want, right? That we also have a duty to have ordinances for a reason, and that's because we know that people don't take care of things always, and it's in the best interest of town for people to take care of things. So I have
Right.
some question about relaxing a fine just because without even someone so much as acknowledging, making a counter offer or saying, well, here's what we think is reasonable. That seems to me not taking ourselves seriously.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't, I wouldn't. I mean, this is a serious thing and that fine is a town asset. That's due to taxpayers. And on the other hand, right, we would like to see the property be transacted and have someone, live there and improve the place. And again, I don't know how to mitigate. Keith's got his hand up here, so.
But that's a town ordinance.
Yep.
And you adopted it.
Right.
So when does this stop with other situations that might occur down the road?
Mhm.
If you do it for one, you might have one coming back and say, hey, why am I paying this? You didn't the other one.
Well,
We
no,
adopted
well,
it.
we
People
gotta-
voted on it. I think you gotta stick to it.
I think we gotta stick to,
Yeah,
make it,
I'm
make
also,
it,
I'm sorry, Louis.
to make it so that the rest of the people in town know that there's a penalty there. And
Because honestly, you did it to other people over junk.
Yeah.
And they abide by it.
that's right.
No, I'm with you. What I don't want to see happen is the house just sits there because there's this lien on it and nothing happens to it. And it just sits there and degrades, right? So that's the other side of the coin, right? So I don't know what the right answer is, right? Walk away fine is not,
Well, it
that's.
should be on the bank to go back on the people that they foreclosed on and say, you owe us this amount of money. You're the one that got the notice and didn't do nothing.
They couldn't get the money out of them anyways.
I know, but it should be on the bank to go after them, not
That's
coming
right.
after here and saying,
I know.
I'm
I don't
also
think,
troubled by
it's
the
up to us
fact that
to-
I'm sorry, Tristan, can I just jump in here?
Please go
I'm
ahead.
troubled by the fact that
go
we're
ahead.
having this debate without the people who want to appeal this even bothering to come in. They just sent something in and here we are debating what they ought to pay. They not only didn't make a counteroffer, they aren't even engaging in a conversation with us. So I'd suggest that we invite them.
Yeah.
If they want to debate or negotiate this, then they can come to a meeting and we can have a conversation about it. We do want
I'll
to
make a
do
motion
what's
to
best
that,
for the
that-
town, you know? We
I'll make a
shouldn't be
motion
fighting
that we
between
table
us.
this
Oh,
and-
there we go.
That we table this
Thanks,
and put it in a, you can send them a note that we've tabled it if they want to discuss. We're available.
I will tell
There's
Patty
no
whatever we
change.
decide. We'll tell Patty whatever we decide, because she's the one's been in contact with them. With the people.
I'll just move that we table it and let them know that that's the action we're taking, and we're open to discuss if they want to come in.
So, yeah, so we have a motion to table it and ask the people to come in and tell us, you know, they've appealed it, and so what their appeal is, right? What, you know, what do they expect from us, you know? Or, you know, I guess why should we change it, I guess is really the question. We have a fine, and it's on the books, and it's a lien against a property, and you know, give us a reason to change it, right? Because we don't have one right now, I guess would be.
Oh, they just said that they just thought it was excessive.
Yep.
It's.
I think the point of why we're discussing this is exactly right, and
I know,
Well, it's not excessive, it's what the
So-
rules.
I know, but that,
So. So.
So we have,
yes.
so given we have a big agenda, is anyone want to, can I get a second for the motion? Or, you know, this is,
I'll second the motion that you know, that we let the people know that, you know, we don't have a reason to change it, and if they think we should do that, they should come in and talk to us.
okay, motion made and second to we postpone this until the next meeting and to tell this company to have a reason for better reason for lowering it. Because we haven't lowered it.
can I just clarify, my
on the
motion
product.
is not to tell them, my motion would not be to tell them that. I think it's up to them to tell us what's on their mind. They haven't told us anything. My motion is just we table it and let them know it's been tabled, because no reason was given for their appeal. And they're welcome to come in.
Okay,
Okay, so we'll ask Patty to tell them that the motion is tabled and that they need to come in and talk to us about it. Is that
Or-
accurate?
either they or
I would say they're
whoever.
welcome to come in. You know, they have the choice here. I'm
Yeah,
not
that we're happy to
telling them what to do
entertain
about
their
this. They're-
appeal.
Correct. Welcome. They are welcome. We're not telling them they need to come in. This is their choice. If they want to appeal it, they're making us do the work here. I'm sick of it.
Yeah. All right, any more discussion on the motion?
This is Edie, and I just would like to know what town ordinance was put into effect here? Was it a junk ordinance or was it a health ordinance?
Oh,
Sorry,
no, I believe.
junk? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I believe that's what it was.
Thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
so passed. Okay, we'll tell Patty.
So do you want to tell Patty, or you want me to work
Well,
with it?
you can,
Okay, I'll work with Patty.
okay. All right. Old business, ARPA fund update. We got a
Yeah, there's,
meeting scheduled
yeah,
for,
there's a meeting on the 29th, 6 o'clock, to field ideas and discuss how we want to spend the funds. There's a webinar on Monday that I'll be attending that's put on by the federal government to talk us through what you know, what they're trying to accomplish and how we stay in bounds. So I'll do that, and I'll have more information about that. I'll take some notes and we can discuss it in the next meeting.
okay. So 2 weeks we'll be having that meeting,
It's on the 29th.
for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's today 15.
So we don't have another meeting in between here. All right, well, so anyway, I'll go to the webinar and we'll talk about it at the meeting on the 29th. I guess.
Okay. Any other on the ARPA fund? Got questions or anything?
So that's going to be warned as a special select board meeting so that multiple select board members can attend it?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, the next thing on the whole business is job description, and April 5th, the next meeting, we're gonna talk about the road commissioner and supervisors, I guess, description. Any others?
That was it.
That,
Did any, so we discussed this at the last meeting and people wanted to take a look at it. And there were some questions around.
Yep, the work has been
chain
done.
of command.
Yeah, the work has been done and to offer a proposal to the select board. However, because the agenda seemed to be full, if we were talking about budget, we decided to put that for the next meeting. And Rosa will send information in advance to the select board.
okay,
Thank you.
all right. So the next meeting will be discussing that and approving the road commissioner and description and supervisor. All right. Post office update.
You know, we're in a holding pattern, but the post office has acknowledged they're working on finding a new location. I think we're in a 90-day period here where they're doing their work, and then they'll come back to us, and then there's a 30-day comment, a public comment period
Yeah.
after that. So
All right, now we'll go back to the budget.
Can I
Oh,
ask
go
a
ahead.
question before you start the budget, just so if I
Yeah.
can get out of here if I need to? For road commissioner stuff. The first one is the V-Trans grants. The structure grant, paving grant's gotta be done by April 15th. The rest of them, there's not a timeline on, but I'd like to get them done. They've been
Yeah.
lingering around. for a
Well, why
month
don't you
now.
go ahead and do it? It's not that,
Well, my one question is they putting it up to me to figure out what structure want change?
yeah, I don't think we'll get a,
You
Right,
probably
on that
won't
one.
get one, but just so you
Oh,
know,
yeah.
if you do, you gotta have some money to.
That's
back it
right.
a little bit.
Yeah.
So that was that question. And the only other question was we got a town cell phone now, and my question, I know we talked about it at one of the meetings about having 2 different cell phones, but it's a pain carrying 2 cell phones around, so I was curious if I could either switch my number to the town cell phone number and just have that phone, or if you wanna do something different or what, but carrying 2 cell phones around is a pain.
I think you can call forward, like have one, if someone's trying to call, it can forward to another phone.
yes, I mean, so the idea was, the reason we did the sort of highway department cell phone is so that it, you know, it could be, if you weren't around, you could hand it off to somebody else or what have you, right? So, you
Well,
know,
the only thing with rotating the phone is, I can't speak on behalf of the guys, but I would be willing to bet you that the guys are probably not gonna want the phone when I'm the one getting the extra pay and it is supposed to be dealing with these problems, you know what I mean? It's fine once or here or there for a day or two, but I think like a weekly rotation.
yeah,
thing,
no, I
don't think
wasn't,
it's fair.
I wasn't suggesting that. I was suggesting that when you're not available, that, you know, that we find it, I mean, you can hand it off to me, right? So, I mean, the idea was to keep a phone that the residents could call, right, so that they could get questions answered if it comes to that. So, you know, that's, and now if
So
you
let me
want
see
to
what-
forward,
See
you
if
know,
I can look into doing what Rosa said about doing forwarding. That way
Yeah.
I can leave the town cell phone on the desk and anything that goes there will just get forwarded to my number.
That's fine, yeah. Just, so, but you gotta remember to stop the forwarding, when you don't want to get it forwarded, right? So it would be kind of pointless, right? If
Yeah,
if
there's
you
gotta
go
be a
on,
way to do like star or something or whatever, I'm sure.
right? Right. I mean, in other words, if you're going on vacation, right, you don't want to be forwarding the town cell phone to your phone, right?
Yeah, you
Right, so-
can turn it on and off.
Okay, so as long as we're
Do you
aware
know how
of
to
that.
do that, or do I have to go to, like the phone subscriber?
Let me look into that. That's a good question.
If you want to, not to add more to your list, but if you want to look into that and kind of have some kind of information, you
What's
can
the-
email me or something.
Yep, who do you go through for your phone?
AT&T.
And the town goes through AT&T?
Oh,
or-
my personal phone is Verizon.
And you want the
The
town to
town
go to
phone.
your personal? Right?
Yes.
Okay, so
The
AT&T
town
to go to
phone is
Verizon.
AT&T, mine is Verizon.
To Verizon. Okay.
Have we published that cell phone number on the website?
I don't believe so.
We probably should do that.
Okay, I can send you that information now. Or send it to Rosa, she can put it on the town website.
That'd be good, thank you.
What do you want me to put on the website?
Town cell phone number.
All right. Is it?
That's it.
Okay. All right. Got anything in the budget that needs to be changed?
I will start with a point if it's, if you're opening the questioning. One of the questions that I had, even though I attended the meetings that I was able to, was just a question about the wages and whether there had been an actual calculation of the wages based on the salaries of the individuals we do employ. And then putting in an overtime calculation, an estimate. And I'm not sure that was done. So I took the liberty of trying to do that based on the recording from that first highway meeting. And is overtime, what is the rate for the overtime pay? I guess is one question to know if my number.
Time and a half.
Time and a half. Okay, that's what I put into this. And I calculated this based on 222 overtime hours, and we know that that's going to be variable. But when I think we had done some assessment earlier about that being kind of the median, somewhere in the middle of how often we need overtime during a season. And that calculation, just to give you some ballpark, and it's not completely accurate, but with 222 hours of overtime and the current wages, the overall budget came out to be closer to $260,000. And with the road commissioner salary, 267. So that's like $30,000 less than what our proposed budget is. And I do realize that we might want to do some wage adjustments in addition potentially to any kind of an increase, across the board, but there may be some need to do adjustments of individual staff members. So I just wanted to ask if that seems like a reasonable amount of cushion. Is that extra 30,000? Do we need that?
Well, not
Edie, we did-
but the cost of living went up 7.5% and we got a 3% raise.
I hear you. Yep.
Edie, we did do a calculation. I'm trying to pull it up right now. The file updated my software and the file was having some issues. We did include a raise.
Right. I saw the base
so that
number.
would-
yeah, seem to be like calculated on, 1.03
Yeah.
times the amount from last year. But I did want to point out that additional change in the overall wages, because again, we have had some newer employees on the road crew. So
So can you take it, I pulled up now the little quick worksheet I did when we did the budgeting. Edie, can you give me again your top level number?
yep, so
Please.
for the for regular hours, and again, I think there was one where I certainly didn't have the right number. I rounded it up. So for regular wages, that in my calculation came out to 223,500. I'm lopping it off a little bit.
For
then-
current, just current employee, let me just check while we go, because
Yeah.
I got almost very close to result, 222,497.
Yeah, and mine again, I rounded up. So yeah, we're close on that. And then for overtime hours at 1.5 with this 222-hour estimate, I came up with 35,800. Again, roughly.
And I don't have a projected overtime in this worksheet because we did that as its own
Okay.
population.
Well, overtime, it's hard to tell because
It
You
is,
go
it's a
back to-
ballpark.
Overtime, you can never
No.
get exact. You have dirt roads, you gotta go out and rake them, especially when you have 5 mud seasons. a
or
year.
you get a lot of,
But the biggest thing I just thought of, the difference here is the newest employee makes quite a bit difference than what I was making when I took Brad's spot. So there's like a $6 something hour difference there. That's probably where the difference is coming from.
Right. So, yeah, and I think, when I look at the overtime, being calculated again, knowing it can't ever be guessed, but calculating that at 36,000, and then we've got an additional 30,000 cushion on top of it. It was just one place that I thought I should bring it to our attention if we were interested in adjusting the budget.
well, a lot of years we've been overspending our budget. Fiscal year 21, we was, 14,000. Spent more than 14,000 budget. And fiscal year 20, $30,000 we spent more than the budget.
Yeah, I think when we came up with that number, we kind of looked back, right? And, and use that as a guide, right, for how we came up with the sort of the overall number, right? So at the time, I think it was our best guess, Edie. I'm comfortable with it. If we really felt, we got pushed to find areas to cut the budget, then I guess we would have to take a look at that, but I'm comfortable with where it is right now.
Yeah, so I guess we asked to put this on the budget to reassess it at this point. Were there other specific items that people felt were going to be needed to be reviewed again? For example, are we buying a second truck that we weren't expecting? Or
I think as long as they got to order it, we won't need a
The truck. that
truck
you-
until fiscal year 24.
This truck that you're buying is due. It's the truck that they bought before that weren't due.
okay, so we don't.
The one they dumped hundreds of thousands of dollars in and never got anywhere with it. So that's why they ended up getting rid of that truck and getting a new one.
Okay, so we're not under budgeting for that. Then that's good.
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so I guess I'm curious if others have been hearing concerns about the budget being in comparison with other years from any individuals. I mean, we opened the
Oh, we had a-
floor, we discuss it, and I guess I'm just wondering if there are other inputs to the issue.
You know, Bob 3 looked at it in detail and had raised questions, and so really that's an individual that certainly raised a lot of questions and was a contributor to this being on the agenda tonight. But I haven't heard anything from Bob about specific issues, so I have nothing to add on that. I just want to note that.
I know
He asked us to review something. This is how we were able to accommodate that.
Yeah, I think he was talking, we had the fuel budget up 50% above last year.
Well, that's looking
Yeah.
like not enough.
It might not be enough, but I'm comfortable with the way it is right now.
Yeah, I
50%
think the
more.
fuel, I mean, it's
So,
not looking good.
yeah, so I'm gonna ask the question another way, which is, do we think that the budget is going to pass?
I don't know. Who knows?
Well, but do we wish to craft information for the public to say why we budgeted what we budgeted and be able to present that to them on the informational meeting so they know where we're coming from and what and the reasoning behind the budget that was proposed. I just feel like we need the public to recognize that there was, a solid process put into place for doing the budget and reviewing the budget. And we need to defend the budget in the public's eyes so that the budget does get passed so that we can continue to do the work of the town. So I think as a board, it is totally okay for us to stand behind the work that was done and be able to explain it to people. And I'm happy to actually offer to start like a slide deck that says, here was the budget, here was how we crafted it, here were the meetings that we had, here was what we were trying to do, which is maintain services in light of things like fuel prices going up. So if that's helpful.
And everything else is going up too. Everything
Yeah,
you're
I
buying
think,
is going up.
Appreciate
Right,
the
Tristan?
offer, Edie. And I think it's a very good point that, it's, we like to people to come to a regular meeting like today and offer their comments, but their comments are the comments really comes in at the voting booth this year in May. So having an opportunity to present something, I think we have the informational session. So what should we say there to present the budget? I think it's a great question. And if you want to work on it, I'd be happy to help with that. And I think there is a job that could be done just to review the recording of those budget meetings. So there was discussion on every item. So if you or someone or team was willing to just segment that out and go through each item and know what was discussed, that's the most direct way to see the reasoning for each thing.
Yeah, we'll have to do it because we're gonna have to get the warning out right off before our next meeting.
Okay. And I guess I would also ask if the chair would entertain asking there are participants at this meeting, asking our participants at this meeting if they have any comments or feedback for us in regard to the budget. We'd prefer to hear you now.
Oh, go ahead, Edie.
I'm just saying, we're here to try to listen to you now. Please speak up if you have budget thoughts.
This is Linda, and I've not participated in the budget meetings, but I think it would be very fruitful to have a plain language summary of how you got where you got. I, for one, because I do not participate, feel that I really shouldn't complain, but not all others abide by that thought. And all too often people who have not participated can be a pretty grumbly voice about the budget. But I think some of that perhaps could be headed off just by plainly stating your assumptions, your limitations, the unknowns, the knowns, and your path to how you got where you got. And that might make it easier for some to comprehend. I'm among those who can get somewhat cross-eyed looking at these extensive spreadsheets, but narrative can go a long way to help some of us with comprehension.
Yeah, I think your suggestion of putting together some kind of a narrative is excellent. I think it's a great idea. It's something we could present at the informational meeting. Has the potential of being very helpful. And thanks for volunteering. For coming up with the idea and volunteering to help with it. I think it'd be wonderful. How useful it proves to be will depend on how many people come to the information sessions and who listens to it. But I think it's a great idea and very worthwhile. So thanks.
It might be more productive to have it available beforehand. Not everybody will do their homework, but if it were available on the town website and maybe a notice in Front Porch Forum, that might help also. It's hard for me to listen to a meeting and read a handout at the same time. I can't do it. So I either tune out the meeting and read or vice versa.
And it does look to me, thank you, Linda, for the input and the commentary. It does look to me like our FY 2022 budget overall is, I'm just looking at the difference here. Overall it's $7,000 less, which is not a lot less, but it's kind of level funded. At writ large, I guess. So we can take that and kind of work with it.
Right, but of course, part of the challenge is just that last year's budget was so much higher, and that's really what we're fighting against. I have just a couple of, I hope these are productive comments. There may be more for budget creation next year than this year, but one of the things I was thinking about in the run-up to tonight's meeting was actually something that Edie has raised a lot over the last months before she was appointed back to the board, which was whether we had a philosophy for budget creation. And it was triggered by something I was listening to on the radio about how with regulations, a particular regulation can seem like it's a really helpful thing, and then you add another regulation, they all make sense when you pass them until suddenly you've got this like wall of regulations that makes everything impossible. And I was thinking that in a certain way, we created this budget the same way. We took a look at each item. And as we looked at each item, we thought, well, this makes sense. The guys should get paid this amount, or this makes sense. Fuel is going to be that expensive, or this makes sense. The guys should have more equipment, but we weren't taking any sort of philosophical approach to maintain level funding or try to get back to 2 years ago funding, and I think at the end of the day, what Edie said, that if there was a philosophy underlying this budget, it was to meet each exigent need, to provide services at a level that we believe the town expects us to provide services at. But I wonder next year when the budget is being created, whether you might start the process with what is our goal in doing this? Are we committed to maintaining or expanding the services that the town has provided? Or do we want to reduce the burden on the taxpayers and start cutting back on that? And along those lines, and I'm going to say this knowing that this is a little bit of a can of worms, but just because it's been on my mind, I happened to have a long conversation with the town clerk up in Orange, and we were just comparing notes. And they have a crew of 2 that covers their 1,000 residents or so and their 45 miles of road. And I thought, well, that's crazy. And she was really struck that we have 5. And my memory is that we have 5 because of a demand for services, and that the town expanded the road crew to meet what the town felt was the demand of services. And I wonder whether at some point the board might want to have a town meeting of some kind and say, look, there are ways to maybe cut. It would come hand in hand with a cutting of services. Which would you rather, that we maintain level funding at a higher level, or that we provide fewer services and maybe cut? And that might be a discussion to have, next fall as you're approaching the process. That would be a real change, but I think that sort of a public meeting along those lines might be useful. So I support, at the end of the day, I'm standing behind the budget with y'all, and I really appreciate Edie's suggestion. And I do think that, again, explaining it as a matter of maintaining services, the high level of services that have been provided, is really kind of the narrative. It's sort of the tree root that kind of runs through the whole process. I'm thinking back to, in that contested conversation with Bob, Tristan, at some point you were like, and so what do you want less of? Do you want less sand? Do you want less gravel? That is the nub. And it might be that in fact the town would accept less. But that's maybe for the next time around.
I don't mean to be, I think there's some pressure on the line when our budget is the Australian ballot, and there's a prospect of it just being voted down without any opportunity for exactly this kind of feedback and discussion, which is why I was an advocate for in-person town meetings. But given that decision's been made, I think having the opportunity to do exactly what you said, I fully support and looking forward. What would be putting it on a select board meeting agenda for sometime in the summer, try to get some good turnout and have that kind of philosophical discussion with the townspeople, including the open house too that we've scheduled for the road department, to understand better where the money goes.
Who recognizes Mike and Keith both have their hands up?
Mike,
Only thing I want to say is most all your budgets are borderline now. You're already cutting nickels, and your residents now call and complain about stuff that they have legitimate complaints about, but now you want to try to cut and cut and cut. You're already behind the 8 ball by years, not even a little bit here. You're long time overdue for a lot of stuff. 800 yards of stone with 50 something miles of dirt does not cut it. Like your blacktop, you're so far behind the budget. You can cut all you want, but you got to remember, the more you cut, the more our jobs get difficult, the more the roads get worse, the more. So if you want to cut, that's fine, but you got to realize the taxpayers that are cutting this budget got to realize that stuff's getting cut, just like Edie and Tristan both said. So if you want to cut and flatline budgets, you're going to get less services. And for her to say, well, Edie talking about Orange with 2 guys for 40 something miles, it takes us with 5 guys 6 hours to do a route now. So if you want to cut, you can cut, but you got to realize what you're cutting.
Oh, I get that, Mike. I'm not advocating. All I'm suggesting is that these are the kinds of questions that people might, that it's worth having a discussion so that people are confronted with just that reality.
Oh, I'm not.
That's all.
I'm just saying, you got to realize what you're cutting here.
And I think we can also say, if we look at the country as a whole, right, this is not just a problem in Halifax. This is kind of countrywide. And as this particular moment, right, in time, there has been government recognition that we have to invest in infrastructure. And I think one other thing that we should make it clear is, if we get town if we get state grants, we still have to put in some small percentage of that. But it's sort of one of those things about it takes money to make money kind of thing, right? If we have nothing in the budget, then the state grants come through at a lower level as well. Is my understanding, it's kind of a percentage of your overall budget. The other thing, of course, that's always interesting in the bigger picture within the town is that the changes to the education funding system. I mean, the bigger portion of our tax bill is not for the highway, it is for the school. And yet these kinds of questions about how much are we willing to invest in the school, again, we haven't heard a whole lot in that space. And part of it again is the pandemic. So nonetheless, I think we can do a great job with some of these statistics. Like, it takes 6 hours with our existing road crew to do all the plow routes. And so therefore, when we have these storms that are, half-day storms or longer, this is what we're able to do is to get you out within 6 hours, and that's cool.
Well, that's where we're seeing a problem here in town with people that they complain about the budget to you, but on the reverse cycle of that, the next storm we get, they're calling the town.
Yeah.
The sad thing of it is this year, our first snowstorm, if you people all remember, it was 2 inches. Now you have a couple call, want Mike to go up and view their driveway because there's a 2-inch ridge of snow in front of their dooryard. That's not cost effective.
Oh my God.
Or you'll have somebody call that's upset because, hey, where's the sand truck? So you call and ask it, hey, where are you? Because we changed your route for this lady. Oh, he's going by now. Okay, thank you, bye. That's the stuff you gotta look at. They want to cut it, but they want the services. It's on who they talk to. It's flipped. And I'm seeing this a lot in this town. And you gotta remember, we're a lot closer to the ski areas than Orange. So we have a lot more people on the weekend. They come in here. They come up here and want that service. You have a lot of bed and breakfasts. They rent the houses out and you have somebody come up from New Jersey with a Mustang with summer tires. And then they get upset because they can't make it to that bed and breakfast because they rented it. That's what we're running into.
I mean, that's always the push and pull, right? Is that people, everybody wants services, but there's the taxes are always too high, right? I mean, it's just the way it is. When I hear things like what you mentioned, Kara, about Orange does X amount of road with Y amount of guys, it doesn't mean anything to me because you don't know what is in the rest of their budget, right? They may be using contractors, right? Or they may have other, it's just not broken out the same way.
Right? There's an elevation difference too.
Right. Well, there's all kinds of different facets to it. So
you figure you make more blacktop, it's quicker, you gotta apples to apples.
right. Well, that's the thing, right? So it's making these. I mean, and I think we've had discussions with other townspeople about how the budget analysis relative to other towns in the area, right? But it's not that easy. You can't just look at the top line, right? And say, well, they spend less money and they per mile of road. But it's not that simple. And it's not even like anything like that simple. And I think it's our job to recognize that and make sure at the end of the day that we're giving the townspeople good value for their tax dollars, right? That's really what it comes down to. And if they don't agree with us and we don't do a good job, then they can easily put someone else on the board to do that, right? It's our job to do the best we can, right? In our good conscience to provide the best services that we can provide, for the, we come up with a budget, it gets approved or it doesn't get approved, but we have to do what we think is right. And people will complain, and that's just part of I think that's part of the job, right? Is being thick-skinned and nodding and trying to be respectful and trying to address things we can address. But other than that, I mean, it's up to us to just do the best we can with what we got.
I just want to respond to Keith's comment about rental units, which is, I'm hearing this more broadly within the state of Vermont, is, like that, the demand for that kind of housing is keeping affordable housing from the area, because people they're going to make more money doing these short-term rentals. And those short-term rentals may not be on our bus routes, which is what our winter plowing policy says we do first, right? So I do think that when we look at that, if there is going to be a survey, perhaps this comment should go back to Paul Blaze, is just to sort of get a sense of what does that look like? Because, last I knew, like 50% of our properties were not, full-time residents. Is that changed so that we're getting more of these short-term rentals, and then therefore seeing more demand, that the second homeowner population, they do pay taxes as well, and that burden, should be on them if that's where the service and the function is occurring, right? So thank you for all the comments. I think it will be easier to justify.
I don't think, that the service that we provide, necessarily has to accommodate, a Mustang with summer tires when it snows, right? That's just not, it's not on our radar to do that, So, I mean, and I'm not gonna apologize for that. That's the way it is, right?
Yeah, but
If you're gonna
not-
come up here in the wintertime, need to be prepared for it. And if you're not gonna be prepared for it, then you're gonna get
But
stuck. I
not to
mean,
be smart, but you say that, and I agree with you 100%. But if that town cell phone number is out in public knowledge, which it should be, and those people find that number, do you think they're not gonna call?
no, but let them call. It's
Then what do
okay.
you tell someone? That they're stranded out on Stark Mountain because they're going to an Airbnb at the bottom of Stage Road? And it's like they can't get, well, what do you, like,
Well, there's not much you can tell them. I mean, it's.
you have to go cater to them.
Well, no, I would argue you could point them to the winter roads policy, and maybe the winter roads policy needs to be adjusted to include the fact that our expectation is that people will have weather appropriate tires and vehicles. Maybe we
Well,
have.
actually, isn't it that should be on the Airbnb host that's advising their invitees of what's required to get to the facility? And
Yeah.
that should go back to the landlord or the host. That's
Yeah.
not a town issue. That's between the renter and the person who's leasing it out.
Yeah.
But it comes a safety issue too. If someone's stuck out there, you can't just leave them there. You know what I mean? You can't just abandon them. If someone has a legitimate
Can
complaint.
you have them call 911? Or call AAA, call 911, call your insurance, roadside
All it's gonna do is
assistance.
worsen the situation. Because if they can't get up there, now you send a tow truck or a fire truck and 10 firemen with their personal pickups and.
Well, no, but I mean, if somebody just gets stuck, then, it's up to them to get unstuck, right? I mean,
No, I agree,
I
but
don't
If
expect
they
the
can't
town to
get
come
up
up
the
with
hill, or if they're in a spot where they can't go on the road and can't get to safety, I mean, I think it's kind of the town's responsibility a little bit to.
Well, I mean, if the roads are plowed and sanded to spec, then,
Yeah, but like
we've
most
done our
of these
job.
guys are coming in after your hours of your winter road policy, so you're not out, you know what I'm getting at.
We just
I
don't
mean,
provide that service.
I was
We're
gonna
not in
say,
that business. There's a limit to our job.
maybe
I'm
we
very
could
sorry.
provide a new job, a new business opportunity for someone to realize, like, hey, you could make some money doing this if you wanted to start a business, because we could refer people there. Yikes.
I mean, any Airbnb host should have someone that works for them doing plowing the driveway, moving the snow, and that person would be a great phone number to have for those situations. And I think anyone listening to this that does Airbnb or such things in the town would be good to do that kind of thing.
Well, to put this into some sort of this particular conversation into a practical suggestion, should we write something that we could post on our website that makes mention of this to people that are renting out their homes, that, this has become, this has been an issue, I don't know how often, but just to sort of say,
There's
please.
one on State Road that it's almost every snowstorm. So I think the more publicity or whatever you want, I can't speak, publicity that you put out is better.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get to these people that own these houses and tell them, say, hey, you're on these roads, you gotta let these people know that, we have a winter roads policy. These roads are not made for, front wheel drive cars or.
Yeah, I was gonna say mud season is here too, right? I wonder if there's a way we can do something targeted to, right? To just sort of say, if we know where the properties are, where there's been issues, maybe we can contact homeowners, landowners and kind of just put the word out that that these are not services the town provides.
Well, I mean,
Yeah,
what services are expected? That we're gonna go pull somebody out if they get stuck?
No,
You
you
don't
don't
pull
touch
them
it.
out.
You don't pull them
Well,
out.
what,
Plow and sand the road so they can go.
well, I mean, if it's been plowed and sanded and it's up to, I mean, it's not, I just don't,
Yeah, but most of
think-
these guys are coming in after 9 o'clock, what's the time. I
Yeah.
believe the policy.
And you get a little snow flurry and
Yeah, and they got
They
their summer
can't-
tires, they can't go up Stark Mountain.
I can
No,
just
I'm not
volunteer
gonna
to,
make But you're on the reality.
no, I know, but it's, to me, it's, if I go to, towns elsewhere and I can't get into where I'm trying to go, I'm not calling the town up. I'm not gonna call the highway foreman up and say, hey, I can't get in. What are you gonna do for me? No, that's not, I don't know where that's coming from. It doesn't make sense to me.
Sometimes it's been the owner of the house himself.
yeah,
Well, I mean, you should get a bucket of sand and get out there. So. I'm not buying that that's our responsibility.
just to move this along, yeah, and I don't think just to move this along, I was looking for the winter roads policy on the website right now. I'm not able to find it. So we could clearly do a better job of distributing that. If I can find it, which I'm sure I will, perhaps someone can help, I can volunteer to review it and review how it's distributed, if there's any information to be updated or announcements that we could make. I think starting there, it's a general announcement, making sure it's up to date, and then thinking about folding that into communications that go out would be what I would suggest.
Someone's got their hand up in the left corner.
I think,
is that Chris again?
I think that's Chris.
Actually, this was me, Janice, again. And honestly, like, it's okay. It's probably a further conversation. And it's just in regard of, because Stark Mountain got brought up a couple times, but I've thought of it many times myself. And like, it's not really a safe road for out of town people or anybody that doesn't really need to travel on it, honestly. And because it's one of the very few ways down the mountain, unless you want to go all the way around the other side where it's already getting overused, is better for there to not be a lot of extra traffic. So I don't know, maybe we could just post our roads better in some places and have a further discussion on like how to help our town keep the roads safe that they need to, so that the road crew isn't always constantly dealing with crazy messes in certain places where it's always a problem. And that's it, really.
I mean, it really comes down to the GPS routing, right? Because that's what
Yeah.
people use, right? They turn on their GPS.
That'll
and
do it.
It sends them up Stark Mountain Road and
They don't,
it's.
doesn't matter what
Yeah.
sign you put, they don't read it.
Dead end roads.
I mean, I don't know how to say it, and just, put on your big boy pants and, figure it out. So your responsibility, it's not our responsibility.
All right, let's move on. So the budget, we're not going to do anything with that then? We'll leave it,
Agreed.
okay?
Yep.
All right. Any other business then? Here are the visitors. Any of the visitors got anything to say? I don't think we're gonna have anything for the executive session. And we got the selectmen's order for the treasurer to pay. And correspondence, the only thing we got, I got 3 overweight permits. That's it.
So Louis and I will sign this now, but we'll need one more signature.
What's that? Yeah, here,
Yeah.
Yeah,
she got it.
all right.
Okay.
This is Edie. I'm going to ask you guys to go through it again. And also last time I apologize, I did not remember to get in to sign it the next day. I will try to do it tomorrow, however. But I do think it's important to kind of just walk through what's there and you know, what we're buying tonight.
Okay. Suburban propane for the emergency generator out here at the town office and school. $500.27. Aroundoffice.com office supplies. That's what Patty's. It's $23 as typewriter ribbon. VLCT unemployment insurance is $185. That's a quarterly thing. TAM, which is recycling, contracted recycling, is $952.13. Rescue Inc. ambulance service for Thomas Hill area, $92. Quill expenses, that's Patty's for the treasury, is $108.97. Bank of America, that's Patty's postage and stuff. $7.38. And New England newspaper for legal ad is $74.80. That's it.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and the Deerfield Valley News, right? Did you say that one for 52?
Oh, I took that one off because I think it was already paid.
Okay, all right, great. And did you get my signature, Rosa? Okay, yeah, so Edie, by all means get in, but they've got the third signature.
Okay. Speaking of signatures, as a note, I am not 100% sure if next Monday I will be available to do highway orders. So I'm hoping to escape town briefly.
Nice. Like I got in today, so I think I was number 4. So I think we'll be good.
All set. I'm just trying to remember if there was something I had to.
Well, I think that's all
Your
of it.
signature?
He's not-
Yeah, so
Oh,
I
where's
did it.
your signature?
Right there.
Oh.
You'll get used to it. sir.
Can we move to adjourn?
Yep.
I'll second
that
it.
motion.
Yeah.
Most made and second to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Hi.
Thanks so much, everyone.
Yep.
Bye,
Take
everyone.
care.
Have a good evening.
Thank you.
You too.
Yeah,
Take
see
care.
ya.
Have a good night.